Audio Unleashed. How are we going to bring us in this week? You got anything pithy?
I can share my rage and frustration.
Okay.
I mean, don't we have that every week?
That's true, we do.
But this week it's more than usual.
Oh.
Thanks to Erin Hardison.
Let's not make it sound like we've got rage like aimed at Erin. I mean, Erin's our buddy, man.
He ruined my week.
Okay. Well, there you go, man. I mean, we'll get to that, but I would like to start off this week with an article that I thought was going to draw my ire, my rage, if you will, but actually kind of ended up really loving. This is a piece from Secrets of Home Theater and High Fidelity by John E. Johnson Jr. It's called The Art and Science of Designing High-End Audio Cables. The introduction had me a little leery, to be honest with you. And then what followed was just a fascinating engineering-first breakdown of what goes into cable design and what may make high-end cables different. And I just found it thoroughly fascinating, and I think there's a lot for us to dig into and discuss here.
I wish I had read this article, 40 years ago. I mean, I kind of knew all this, but to have someone lay it out, it took me a long, long time to learn it all, and wading through a lot of BS. And this all just lays it right out.
Yep. What do you want to talk about this week?
We're going to talk about the article, or the whole thing. There's a series of articles and YouTube videos that just enraged me, thanks to Erin. Well, thanks to you pointing me to it, and then Erin, featuring all this crap, and in my opinion, crap. And oh boy, so he talks about the thing he's addressing in a couple different videos is. Generally, we talk about speakers and we say that flat response sounds the best, right? And this is proven through science. But a lot of people confuse flat response anechoically, which does sound best, with flat response in a room, which does not tend to sound good. And Erin goes into depth explaining and demonstrating all this. And it was sadly inspired by his review of the Borison X3 speaker, which was about as far from flat as anything I've seen. And the head of the company, Michael Borison, has a video out there on, I don't know, hi-fi-nuts.com or some YouTube channel. I can't remember what it was. Hi-Fi something, and where he's explaining this concept, and then our favorite website, Headphonesty, which we refer to as Headphones Tie. As typical, they grabbed like a couple little snippets out of that YouTube video and made a whole article out of it. And the weird thing is, their article's actually way better than the YouTube video. Oh my God.
That should tell you something right there.
The whole thing is such a disaster. It's not any fault of Erin's. I think this whole thing proves that, Erin is the essential speaker reviewer, and there's no need to go to any other unless Erin didn't review their speakers. Like almost all the speakers I review, he does not review. So so you still have to come to me for reviews of really cheap crap on Wirecutter. Other than that.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And then we move on gracefully and smoothly and professionally to what?
Finally, I get to do an entire segment about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, my favorite modern band. So anyway, what brought this about is I was on Reddit, on the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard subreddit, like you do, and saw a post where, I'll give you the headline of the post. Spotify now features an AI clone of the band. So People may remember, I mentioned this several episodes back, that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard was at the forefront of a movement away from Spotify. They took all of their music off of the service, and for political, moral, ethical reasons. Well, somebody decided to fill that gap. Somebody decided to create an AI clone of the band called King Lizard Wizard and upload AI generated covers of some of their most famous songs, like The River, Rattlesnake, Gamma Knife. And it was just like, what? Is this the world we're living in? And I kind of intended for that to be what we discussed. Like, is this Spotify's answer to losing bands? Just create AI clones? But I think over the weekend, maybe sometime very recently, Spotify actually did take the AI clone down. Although it's still up on YouTube, so you can still hear it on YouTube and hear how just dreadful it is. But what I'm wondering is this a trend we're going to see going forward if bands sort of withhold their labor from services for ethical reasons? Are we just going to see AI clones fill in the gap? And what does it mean overall? I mean, is this... I don't know. It just seems to me this is just yet another thing that is damaging the entire music distribution ecosystem and setting up potentially sort of, avenues for mistrust, distrust. Which of those do I mean? I don't know. But anyway, we'll discuss. We'll dig in and we plenty of thoughts, I think.
And then we have a Patreon segment exclusively for our Patreon subscribers. And this is about a paper that was shared with you by Danny Kaye, who's one of the Hi-Fi Five, who you were on their show a while back. And barely survived. And
I still have scars.
You're still here to tell the tale. And
I'm stronger for the experience.
This is a really fascinating thing, which we kind of had to do. And it's from a thing called Cureus, Cureus. And it's a paper called Beyond the Sound Waves, a comprehensive exploration of the burn-in phenomenon in audio equipment across physiological, psychological, and societal domains. And it's by Emilian Kalchev. Sorry, the print's really tiny on my computer. It's hard for me to see.
It's okay.
Who is involved with St. Marina University in Varna, Bulgaria. And it's it's so great. It's just so great because we talk about burn-in, and there's always this debate about burn-in, right? And we talk about a lot of the possible reasons why people, does it exist, and the possible reasons why some people get freaked out about it, and what are the manufacturers' motivations behind promoting the idea and all this stuff. And this paper just lays it all completely out, absolutely clearly, and basically says everything that a lot of this is in like Floyd Toole's book, right? But it's laid out so clearly, and it's really comprehensive. It looks at everything, and I think if you read this paper and you're not a total audio cultist, you're going to be like, yeah, that makes sense. I think the audio cultists who are absolutely convinced that burn-in is needed, they're not listening to this anyway, but no, I don't think so. But
they might be hate listening.
Yeah, they could be, but I think this is going to be interesting because we'll talk about some of the multiple causes that are discussed in here. Some of which I think I probably have entertained some of these notions in my head over the years, but this is all like laid right out. Like, hey, here's this potential cause. Here's this potential cause. Anyway, I'm going on too long. Let's dig into the art and science of designing audio cables.
Let's do it. So again, as I said in the intro, this is a piece from Secrets of Home Theater and High Fidelity. It is by John E. Johnson Jr., published on December 4th, so pretty new piece. I have to say right off the bat, let me just get this out of the way. I have a nit to pick. I have a bone. I think this article would have been improved 1,000-fold with the removal of one sentence.
What's that?
The second sentence. The second sentence set me up to be defensive about this article. And let me just read it. Okay. So he says, at first glance, these cables might seem like simple conductors of electrical signals. But for those deeply committed to high-fidelity sound reproduction, they are the result of decades of experimentation, refinement, and innovation. Well, something can be the result of decades of experimentation, refinement, and innovation and still be a simple conductor of electrical signals, right?
True.
I mean, it's true. And I almost think in a way maybe he was kind of pandering to be like, yeah, are you special? Did you buy, if you bought high-end cables, you're special. And I don't know, that's maybe not the way he intended it, but that is the way I sort of interpreted it at first. But you take that one sentence out, and this article suddenly becomes just an incredibly science and engineering driven breakdown of what goes into the design and manufacture of cables in a really comprehensive way and a really nuanced way as well. I don't expect to see nuance of this sort in an article like this, but there was a lot of nuance talking about, well, yes, there's a measurable difference here, but what is the percentage difference? What does that difference actually matter in terms of the overall signal? I was really impressed by it, but what stood out to you the most? Like, what was the thing that grabbed you and made you go, you know what, this is going in the idea board?
So many things. First of all, I'm deeply disappointed in you that the thing that disappointed you about this article is not the thing that disappointed me about this article, which I'll get to. But,
okay.
Because once you see it, you'll be like, oh, man. But, I love, it's got a thing, does OFC improve sound quality, oxygen-free copper, right? No. It just says right out flat, no. Not at audio frequencies where skin depth is large, which means, skin effect, which is the tendency of higher frequencies to run along the outside of the conductor. It's not really present at audio frequencies to any significant degree. Conductivity differences are tiny. Signal currents are extremely small. It's one thing we forget. Cable losses are dominated by geometry, not copper chemistry. There's no measurable differences in frequency response, distortion, noise phase, crosstalk, damping factor beyond a fraction of a percent. And they just lay it all right out, right here. I should say he, because John wrote this. What's it good for? It's good for, less oxidizing. So it's good for transformer windings and high temperature coils and motors and things like that, right?
Yeah.
It's not any better, not worse for audio conductors. And it's good for so many other things in the cable industry. They take something that's designed for another industry where it is critical, medical or military or something. Even though it's completely irrelevant for audio, they, make it relevant.
Yeah.
Or they claim it's relevant, even though it's not.
Right.
But there's just so much. I mean, it's a very long article. There's a lot of double spacing and stuff like that. A lot of bulletizing. And he talks about the different kinds of shielding on interconnects. And he talks about, I love that he talked about the advantages of twisted pair and star quad.
Yes.
Which, I got turned on to star quad, by Corey Greenberg in Stereophile. Because he, I think, got sick of some of the cable BS out there and just started making his own cables out of Canary Star Quad, which is sort of the standard, that's sort of the gold standard for studio wiring for interconnects.
Yeah.
And he talks about, why Star Quad works and why it actually does have, it doesn't do anything if you don't have any sources of interference, but if you do have sources of electromagnetic interference, it works great. And he talks about cryogenics, which, it does improve certain things, but it doesn't improve electrical conductivity, audio signal transfer, noise performance, or contact resistance.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. It's so honest and it's so straightforward. And it's like, yes, it's none of this weaselly stuff like, well, it might have an effect, which even we do. And
Yeah. I love the way in so many instances he breaks down the math and he was like, well, this could make a difference with signals that are in the, hundreds of kilohertz or megahertz range, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, here's why that would be relevant. Does that matter for audio? No. It's just like, well, damn, there's just nothing to argue with there.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things he kind of glosses over here. Like he talks about the whole, directionality thing with cables. Like some high-end cables are designed for signal flow in a specific direction to optimize conductivity, and which I don't. It's such a long article. I could easily have missed his discussion of this, but audio signals are AC. They flow both ways. Electrons flow back and forth through the cable. They don't flow in one direction.
Yeah.
So the whole directionality of cables, unless maybe the cable is grounded at one end and not the other, which has been done for reasons I think are probably mostly bogus.
Right.
No, it doesn't. It does not. It doesn't matter. Audio signals are AC. It's like these people don't understand the basics, and we'll be dealing with that a lot here on Audio
Unleashed
tonight, whenever you're listening to this.
Yeah.
But he talks about skin effect a lot, right? Which is a lot of people talk about that, but it's a radio frequency problem. It's not, he says right here, not in analog audio.
Right. Right.
Talks about Litz wire, which I've never seen a discussion of Litz wire before, honestly. I mean, I probably could have found one, but I was too lazy.
A lot about Litz wire from this. And I was like, oh, fascinating. Oh, interesting,
Yeah, which is kind of, he talks about, the advantages of it, but it's not like so much of the stuff he talks about. This is why I love so much about this is he says, look, here's what the advantages of this are. It doesn't have any advantages for audio.
Right.
But, it does have advantages, and there's reasons why people have used this kind of construction. And then, the audiophile wire companies just basically jump onto this stuff, I think in so many cases, without even understanding what it does.
Yeah.
And a lot of them should read this. A lot of everybody who works for an audio cable company ought to read this. I mean, I would imagine there's probably somebody at certainly the bigger audio cable companies who knows this. I mean, like, I used to work on Monster Cable's ads for them when I was at Home Theater Magazine, which I loved because I got to work with, we just did it and I'd bang them out really fast because they couldn't find anybody to write them. I said, look, I'll just do it for you. And, but every month I get on the phone with Damian Martin and we talk, who was like the chief engineer at Monster, and we talk about this stuff. And he knew everything. Still does. He's still active in the industry, I think. And, he's designed all kinds of stuff, not just Monster. But I love these kinds of discussions because it's real electrical theory. It's not a bunch of stuff some idiot made up. It's like, everybody should read this article. Everybody involved in audio should read this article, whether it's pro, consumer, anything. You're not going to find a better discussion of audio cable anywhere on the planet than right here.
Right. Yeah.
In my opinion.
One of my favorite bits about all of this, and I think this is something that if there's one point that people would take away from this article, it was the point that he made about it's impossible to minimize resistance, capacitance, and inductance all at once because changing the geometry to lower one often increases at least one of the others. Talks about trade-offs, fundamental of this stuff. And it's just like, I mean, you can't throw money at that problem. You can't fix that problem with more materials. It's just a matter of optimization.
Yeah. So you want to know what disappointed me so much with you?
Yes, please. Yes. Why did I disappoint you this week?
You completely failed, and you could have gotten so enraged. You had the opportunity to rant like me, and you completely missed it. Because look at the cables that are pictured.
Okay.
What kind of audio cables are those?
Oh, hang on.
What kind of connection is that? And like, there's one of them where like the two, there's like these big sleeves that come out, and there's like supposedly I guess a left and right cable, and the sleeves are different. But then you look down in the bottom thing, Meta AI.
Oh, wow. Wow. I completely missed that, bud.
And then you go down to the next one, again, all these mystery conductors, these mystery plugs and stuff. It's Meta AI. So they told Meta AI, make a picture of a bunch of audio cables, and Meta AI couldn't even manage to do that.
Wow, I like how at one point there's just two connectors connected to one another. How in the world did I just completely gloss right past that, man?
Yeah. And then you go down and there's like some dude way down. There's like some dude with a speaker, and there's just like these bizarre connectors. It's like the original, like the early pictures you did on AI where you'd use Midjourney or something. And so it's like they'd be really good, except there'd be something like completely screwed up about them. This is like that. And so this guy's plugging in something. At the end of that cable is a connector that's like, what the hell is that?
It looks like the communicators from A New Hope, man. This is like the communicator that C-3PO carries.
It's just like, what is this crap? Meta AI. This is as far as I know, my first encounter with Meta AI.
Yeah.
And although I have to say, Meta AI's speaker design is no stupider than a lot of the speaker designs I've seen or that we're going to discuss.
Except for, I'm pretty sure that one speaker's got a 3-inch tweeter, man. Like a 3-inch soft dome tweeter, that's got to be. And then two 12-inch drivers?
Imagine the power handling on that sucker, man. You could get this thing going like 130 dB.
Oh, that's a good point, man.
It wouldn't sound good, but it'd be loud.
Oh, man. So, how in the world did I miss that? So where would that tweeter start beaming?
Well, 3 inches, which is 1/4 of a foot. And if a foot beams at 1K, then this is going to start beaming at 4K.
Oh, okay.
Roughly.
Wow.
See, you can do all this stuff in your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get close enough, plus minus 15%, probably 20%.
Back in the napkin,
but
that's
except
all you
one
need,
of the tweeters is a 1-inch. On one of the speakers, it's a 1-inch, and on the other speaker, it's more like a dome mid-range.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, and then the top woofer has like kind of a big dust cap, and the bottom woofer has a small dust cap, a smaller dust cap.
And one of the speakers is firing like perpendicular to the room, and the other speaker's firing right at his face.
Well, to be fair, people do that kind of thing all the time.
Well, that's true.
I mean, people stack their left and right speakers on top of each other. I mean,
I've seen it happen before.
Yeah, that's the thing is AI, you can grant AI a lot of slack because any speaker positioning it comes up with is going to be one that a human being has done before.
Oh, there you go. Is that our defense of AI today? It's no stupider than humans.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, but yeah, so I was so dying because I saw that. I'm like,
oh man,
didn't even notice, and you were so if nothing gets you ranting worse than AI, and probably worse than Meta AI, which appears to be the stupidest of all AIs. But what do I know?
I didn't even know Meta AI was a thing, buddy. Oh man. Anyway, kudos to Hi-Fi and hometheaterhifi.com for this article. It's fantastic. This should have been in Stereophile 30 years ago. Yeah, it's a really good read. Take the time to read it, people. And like, if you just need to sort of break it down a section at a time and read and then digest and then come back and read later, do it. But get through it eventually because it's a really good piece. But I don't have anything to add to that, man. You want to take a break, get some water, and come back and talk about flat speaker measurements? Yeah, but I just got to say to the home theater Hi-Fi guys, and the guy who runs it is very artistically talented. It's Carlo. It's like, just get some, you have cables, just get some cables and put them on a table and take a picture, okay? Yeah. It's just stupid AI junk. Because the article is everything that the photos are not. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Anyway.
Well, let's take a break, get some water, and come back and talk about Erin Hardison and why he pissed you off.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Am I bringing this back in?
You are bringing us back in, bud.
And we're back. This is Audio
Unleashed.
And we are going to talk about flat-sounding speaker or bad information. And I will give you one guess as to, well, actually, it's kind of both, isn't it?
It is kind of both, yeah.
It's kind of both. What am I talking about here, since you're the one who turned me on to this thing?
So this is a video by Erin's Audio Corner, our buddy Erin Hardison, titled Why Flat Response, flats in air quotes, sounds terrible. So this is a bit of an ongoing series. I think the drama started back when Erin reviewed a Borenson speaker, and I think there was a little bit of drama for a while. We might have actually talked about it on Audio Unleashed, or maybe
it was
we
did briefly.
Maybe it was when we were at Sound. I don't remember, but we discussed it.
Yeah.
But anyway, more recently, there was a video by Next Level Hi-Fi 2 weeks ago where they did Meet the Genius episode 3, which I'm sorry, man. If they invited me, they're not going to invite me on for an interview. But if they invited me on for an interview, I'd be like, okay, but don't call me a genius in the headline, because that's just douchey. But anyway, Meet the Genius episode 3 with Michael Borenson. And there, apparently, he talks about how, flat speakers sound whatever, bright, brittle. I don't remember exactly what words he used. But anyway, Erin took all of this as an opportunity to explain what we mean when we say a flat frequency response speaker, and to, sort of break down the difference between anechoic measurements and in-room response, and why a speaker that gave you a flat in-room response probably sounds just dreadful, but why there's a big distinction to be made between anechoic measurements and in-room measurements. And also why you can't make universal sweeping statements like, what a speaker sounds like based purely on its on-axis frequency response, because there's a lot to it, a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, and I sense his frustration because he's dealing with he has a big comment section that's very active, and which we don't. Which people make more comments. We love it. And whether you trash us or praise us, whatever, we dig it all. But, he's kind of dealing with just so much confusion about people will EQ their system to be, they'll put up a microphone at their listening position, and they'll EQ their system to be flat at that microphone. And then the system sounds too bright.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Whereas if you take an anechoic, a speaker that's anechoically flat and that has, good off-axis performance, right? It doesn't have any big giant dips that appear as you move off axis.
Mhm.
If you put that speaker in a normal room, it will sound great, but it will not measure flat anymore. It's going to have a downward sloping frequency response. Okay.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
stuff gets, the higher the frequencies go, the more they get absorbed by room furnishings, right?
Yeah.
And so I think he's frustrated by the fact that some guy, I mean, I read through a lot of the comments and stuff, and, there's a couple guys who, EQ'd their system to be flat and, at a microphone in the listening position and don't like the sound. And of course they don't like the sound. It's not the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
And there's also confusion in terms of like people say, oh man, if you have flat response, the speaker sounds flat, as in flat and dull and uninteresting and
Lifeless.
stuff, which
Right.
no, it just absolutely doesn't. That's something that's happening in your mind.
Yep.
Entirely in your mind, as opposed to something that's happening acoustically that your ears pick up and then goes into your mind. That's just a bunch of stuff you made up, basically.
Yep.
So
I mean, you're conflating, words, homonyms, I guess.
Right, exactly.
Well, not homonyms,
exactly.
but different definitions of the same word.
Different, exactly. But however, the thing I'm mad about Aaron about is I'd be a happier person if I was never exposed to the statements of Michael Borison.
Yeah.
This is already bad vibes for me, but I really hadn't dug into his speakers much, and they do look cool. Give him that. Aaron talks a lot about how cool they look, and he did find, so he reviewed, this whole thing was inspired by his review of the Borison X3 speakers. And this video of Michael Borison saying that flat measuring speakers, which he doesn't, well, he kind of defines obliquely, I guess you could say. He talks about crossover dip as a desirable thing. Like you have to have a dip in the crossover in the speaker's response at every crossover frequency, which, you read the loudspeaker design cookbook and they tell you how to get around that problem. And I've measured, I don't know, hundreds of speakers that didn't have that problem, where they were able to get a flat response, because they say in Headphonesty, because they don't know how speakers work. They show you a crossover thing with like a dip where the crossover, the woofer crosses over to the tweeter or whatever at both of them at their minus 3 dB points, which gives you a plus 3 dB hump, right? Well,
right.
Fine. Move the crossover points to where they cross over at minus 6 dB, and then you get a flat response. This isn't that hard. Just read the loudspeaker design cookbook. You can order it from wherever you order it, and there's a new edition that's really good. And this is so. It's like, what is it with people just not reading? Read that and read Floyd's book, and you're good to go. You don't need, unless you're going to design amps, which read Bob Cordell's book or Douglas Self, or both, preferably. But then, like, I looked at I watched Aaron's video on this speaker, and he shows and he hears all the problems. Like all the measurements correspond exactly with what he heard, and he listened to them for like a month before he measured them. And because some reader cared enough to drive them all the way from Chicago down to Aaron's house, which is it in Alabama?
Yeah.
Not Alabama.
Huntsville.
It's in, he's in Alabama too. I didn't realize that. I kind of thought he was in Georgia. But anyway, Huntsville, good. Well, not good for him, but good for the purposes of this discussion. Anyway, whatever. So, but, and this speaker has like the most bizarre frequency response I've ever seen. I mean, it reminded me of, what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the Dayton Audio B652, which is kind of a legendary, super cheap speaker. And I think when I reviewed them, because Steve Guttenberg told me about them, and I tested them, like, I think they were $30 a pair, 35 when I reviewed them. It was years ago. But they're not a whole lot more now. And And they actually sound okay. Like they're serviceable. The version with there's like a little metal dome tweeter version. That version's good. The version with the AMT tweeter is not as good in my opinion, or according to my measurements. But you measure it and it's like a woofer. It's like a 6.5-inch woofer, I think. And it's an okay woofer in an okay box, and it measures fine until you get to the transition to the tweeter, because the woofer runs full range.
Yeah.
And which is why the speakers sound good. It's like the tweeter just kind of adds a little, it crosses over at like 5K or something. And it's just like a single capacitor on the tweeter. So it's a first order crossover on the tweeter, and the tweeter just adds a little sparkle. But you look at the measurement and all these problems happen way up at like 5K. So it's not that objectionable. But the measurements just had this bizarre herky-jerky character like you get when you measure the Dayton Audio B652. And from watching his video that's on, who did the video? With the Meet the Genius episode 3 video?
Oh, yeah. That was Next Level Hi-Fi.
Well, the next level could be down as well as up. I'm just going to say.
Oh, man, I love it.
I just got to say, Aaron's so nice because he talks in his video about, I reached out to this one website, to Headphonesty, that I was going to criticize and let him know I was going to just, it's like, we never do that.
No.
He's way nicer than us, but
most people are.
That's not true. That's not true. I helped a worm across the street this morning.
Oh, wow.
I always do that because I don't want the worm to get run over by a car. And
that's very nice.
But anyway, so
by the way, we should link to Erin's website with the measurements of the Borison X3, because I mean, it is like you can describe how it looks like the readout of a lie detector test, but until you see it, like it's like some of these dips and peaks in the frequency response look more like they should be measured on the Richter scale than anything else. I mean, it's just
it's just really
way up and down, like huge suck out at around 300 hertz, like gigantic suck out at around 2.5 kilohertz. I mean, it's a wacky speaker, and you look at the dispersion. You look at the directivity index, and you're like, you couldn't even EQ the speaker to sound decent, man.
Well, I just got to say, look, if Michael Borison wants to come on here and make his case, he's welcome. I mean, I kind of hate to do that, but like, he will not survive gracefully. We're not next level hi-fi here. And, and I got to say, I almost feel some sympathy for this guy, because these hi-fi writers look at all the show coverage he gets, and they go into his room and it's like they're slobbering all over him. It's just, oh my God. Oh, Michael Borison. Oh, his latest, blah, blah, blah. But his previous thing was a new standard and blah, blah, blah. I'm out of breath. It's Michael Borison. But I think it's because he has that thing in his name with the O that has a slash through it.
Oh,
and so many of these hi-fi writers are so like Europhilic, that any Euro kind of thing in your name, and they just start falling all over themselves. I'm not even slightly kidding.
Yeah, you're right.
But I have an O in my name. I should probably do that. And I have a U, so I could add the umlauts and the O slash thing if I ever decide to make speakers. Automatic cred. I'll fake some weird accent too. It totally worked. Grow my beard out like 2 feet long, and whatever. Go around barefoot. They fall for all this crap. Anyway, really, that's the real villains in here are the people that fall for this and don't actually learn about audio. But anyway, as he wants to come on here and explain to us all this stuff, well, great, but none of it squares with science. He doesn't have listening tests, or he doesn't have published listening tests with the documented methodology, right?
Yeah.
Whereas lots of people have published listening tests with documented methodology that basically proves him wrong.
Yeah. So you were talking in the last episode about first order crossovers and
Mhm.
how our dearly departed friend Mark Ailing once said, that speaker sounds great when you're sitting on the floor. Where
Yeah.
would you have to sit for these boards and speakers to sound good?
Okay, well, that's the weird thing is did you so you watched all the Aaron stuff. So he's talking about how they tilt way back
Yeah,
and which you would normally do with first order crossovers. And
right.
because then everything's time aligned. And he was kind of worried cuz like he tilted the speakers forward and then he got on like a couple pillows and sat like way up high and he just said they sounded better that way. And apparently
Yeah.
they measured better that way too. And but the company said, "Oh, well, they tilt up because when you're at a concert, the performers are on a stage and you're sitting below the performers."
Yeah.
Which I just hope to audio reviewers, like, look at a statement like that and think about it, okay?
Mhm.
But, like, first of all, that's true in a classical performance, right?
Mm.
Maybe some jazz performances, right? But
Yeah.
the instruments do not beam their sound up over
No.
your head. Okay,
No.
instruments actually have pretty generally broad dispersion, right?
Mhm. And
And
if we're talking about a rock concert, look, every show that I've been to see in the past 25 years relied on line arrays.
yeah, and they all have PA. And
Mhm.
anything but classical and very few jazz concerts and very few folk concerts is going to have PA. And even
Yeah.
if you're doing classical, they mix those recordings, and classical recordings are mixed. There's usually, there's a great article in Tape Op. I can't remember her name. It's in the latest Tape Op. You can get it online. A woman who is a classical engineer, and that was really interesting because her thing is completely different. And
Hmm.
she talks about some of the different mic arrays she used and the different mic placement techniques and all that. And she's open about it. She's like, yeah, we do EQ. We do a little bit of compression here and there. We do all this stuff. And, the sort of industry standard classical recording monitor for years was the BMW 801 Matrix. And
Yeah.
and you're not putting that thing up on a stage and having it blow over your head. You're sitting down at the same level of the speaker to where your ears are at tweeter level, roughly. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
in studios that use those things. And, regardless, you're mixing through standard studio monitors with your ears roughly at tweeter level.
Mhm.
So these people are mixing and working, or I should say, and mastering, especially these
Yep.
classical recordings to sound good with normal hi-fi speakers. They're not saying like, well, there's nothing we can do. The sound blasts over your head if you're in the audience. There's no way we can correct that. We just have to wait for a genius to come along and figure out that problem by shooting the sound over your head with his speakers.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like,
Man.
I mean, I hate to beat up on people like this, but he's spreading misinformation. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just nothing. If he wants to back up what he's saying with some people that would actually criticize him, which is
Mm.
the only person that I've found that really has criticized him he hasn't criticized him, he's criticized his products is Erin.
Yeah.
All these other, I haven't seen, well, maybe John, I mean, if John Atkinson measured these speakers, he'd be like, yeah, these are a hot mess. But of course, the reviewer in Stereophile would be like, "Oh my God, it's another triumph for Michael Borison."
Yeah.
But then Atkinson would be like, "Yeah, no." The beauty of Stereophile.
You have to wonder how many Stereophile readers read both the measurements and the subjective review.
They don't
Because
read the measurements.
so many times they just completely contradict one another.
Yeah, they don't read the measurements. I mean, I think.
Yeah.
I was on a bus one time in New York reading Stereophile, and this woman, and I'm looking at the measurements because that's mostly what I read in Stereophile. And this woman looks over at me. She's like, "You read that?" Yeah.
Wow. Man, imagine if you'd had Tape Op with you.
Well, Tape Op is cool, though.
It
Tape
is
Op has
cool.
cool cool graphics and cool people.
Their covers are just the best, man. It's like I keep every time a new issue of Tape Op comes in, I'm like, okay, this cover can't be as good as the base. And it's like, nope, it absolutely slaps, man. Whoever's doing their graphic design is just absolutely baller.
Yeah, kind of the best magazine ever. And it's kind of good that, if we were back in the heyday of magazines, somebody would have thrown him a ton of money and he has sold out and they'd have made it crappy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think our rambling here probably indicates that we've run out of things to talk about with this long and winding series, which you wouldn't think, because man, you could spend 5 hours just in the more to read section of Erin's video. But we'll link that and just follow all the links, guys. This is like a whole saga. But I hope it doesn't make you as angry as it made Brent.
Well, the only thing is, though, I just have to say, after seeing this whole thing, I'm like, there's no reason for me to review speakers anymore unless I review a speaker Erin doesn't review. There's no reason for anybody to review speakers anymore. He does it so well. There's just no reason to do it.
He's really good.
This is the guy to go listen to. He goes in depth. I mean, Atkinson's measurements are great.
Yeah.
And you can read that and get a lot out of it. And, I review stuff for Wirecutter that's $200 a pair, which Erin doesn't do. So, but, there's a few others. There's other occasions where you would have to, but he just so nailed this whole thing and explained everything completely, and anybody could understand it,
That's the thing. And this is something that I keep saying about Erin, but I mean, this is my favorite quality of his work. His goal in this is to inform you to the point to where you don't need to come to him, right? He is teaching you how he understands this stuff so you can understand it, so you can make your own value judgments about speakers and how and why they measure the way they do. And I just think that is a sign of a very, very secure content creator. So Erin, if you're listening to this, buddy, that's my favorite thing that you do is you give your viewers the keys to the kingdom. You teach them how to do the analysis that you do. And I think that's just amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We got to do something else. We got to talk about something other than speakers, don't we?
Yeah, man. Let's talk about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, or in this case, King Lizard Wizard. So let's take a break and get a drink of water, and we'll come back and talk about this crap.
All right.
And welcome back. This is Audio
Unleashed.
Nice. I love it.
And back to the drunk Leonard Skinner fan.
That's redundant.
Are there any non-drunk Leonard Skinner fans?
I mean, I'm sure there are a few on meth, but anyway, we'll leave that alone for now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So, as I said in the intro, this time we're talking about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which is my favorite modern band. But we're also going to be talking about King Lizard Wizard, which is not a band at all. So,
well, except that's what I call, King Lizard Wizard, whatever the hell they're called.
You just gave up right in the middle of that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, so I came across this on Reddit. I was browsing one day and saw a post on the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard subreddit. Spotify now features an AI clone of the band, and I dug into this a little, and sure enough, so if people will remember, we talked about this a few episodes. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard were at the forefront of this latest mass exodus from Spotify. I mean, I guess you could go back in time and a lot of people left first, but there's a new exodus, and they were at the forefront for political, ethical, moral reasons. Yeah, for a while there was no King Giz music on Spotify, and people talk about this in the comments section here. Like, I'll send my friends to listen, and they can't find it. Well, now they can find it. They type in King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard into Spotify, and this King Lizard Wizard band comes up, and it is 5 of the band's sort of like, they kind of knew what they were doing, because they're 5 of their sort of most recognizable songs, but they've gone through and just created them with generative AI. And do you remember David Cronenberg's remake of The Fly, where like Jeff Goldblum's DNA gets mixed up with fly DNA in this weird teleportation experiment?
Yeah.
It's sort of like this AI version of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard kind of sounds like there was a teleportation experiment, and somehow they got the DNA of Nickelback and Pat Boone mixed in there somehow.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, it's just like really totally like, you could tell, like, if the person that's saying these songs was a human being, he would be one of those people who bites his bottom lip when he dances. Like, just like the whitest thing you've ever heard in your life. But it's completely soulless, completely devoid of any of the sort of just weird experimentation and raw analog sound that makes King Giz such a great band. I mean, like, their last album, they recorded all with like $10 amps that they found at, pawn shops, just to get, because that was the specific sound that they wanted, and they use old beat up weird no name instruments that they hack up and modify themselves. So like, they are just one of the most analog bands that you can conceive of, and to have them replaced with this just soulless AI crap, which is too perfect by half, and just completely gridded, and I don't know, man, it was just really disappointing. But the thing about it is, there are people in the comments section here saying, yeah, man, a buddy of mine was telling me, oh man, I heard that Rattlesnake song you love on Spotify, and I love it so much. And it turns out the guy was listening to this AI crap. So my question is this going to be something we see going forward as more bands leave Spotify? Are people just going to fill the void with AI knockoffs?
Probably.
And will most people notice?
Well, and I think probably more to the point is, it's on, YouTube is not taking these things off, which means
correct.
Google is more evil than Spotify.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. That is heavy. Yeah. It's a good point. But yeah, so I can't link to you this band on Spotify anymore because they don't exist, but we will link in the show notes to the playlist on YouTube so you can hear how dreadful it is for yourself. And I'll provide links to the actual originals so you can do a comparison. But you're not a fan of the band, so I know you don't have any skin in this, but
I'm not a fan, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So have you listened to any of these AI clones of the band?
Of King Lizard Wizard Gizzard?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well,
I will now.
Well,
now that you're pointing them to me.
Yeah, I'll put them in the show notes. But
so my thing was, I was wondering if you'd like to speculate on the motivation of people who do this.
I mean, money?
Yeah, but it's I guess, but if they're on YouTube, musicians don't make money on YouTube. I mean, technically it does pay, but it's the worst paying of all the streaming services, which is saying something. And
but I guess return on investment, there's so little. I mean, it takes you. I mean, there's a company out there now. There's one of the biggest success stories in podcasting. And what they're literally doing is just punching ideas into this AI podcast generator. Like, we did this like a year ago or something like that. We created an AI pod. Well, there's a company now that's generating a podcast episode a minute, right? And they might get. Yes. And they in the past few months, they've released like 30,000 episodes. And they don't have to make a lot of money on each episode because it's just volume. They're just flooding the zone. And so even if it takes them a minute to create a podcast episode and they make, I don't know, $5 in revenue, Well, if they're just cranking them out, they could do them simultaneously. It's pretty good return on investment. So you
I
got to
guess
remember, these
so.
guys aren't sitting down and making music. I mean, they're not even putting the time into it that you and I put into doing their quick little one-off, interstitial music thing. It's
Yeah.
just like they're going to a large language model going, here's the source material, here's the lyrics, create a rock song. There you go. What else do they need to do? Pretty much any money they make is bonus.
Yeah. I I guess so. I guess but it seems to me like it's going to be a small amount of money because, Spotify notoriously doesn't pay people a lot of money unless you're
Mhm.
Taylor Swift or something. And,
Yeah.
so it's going to be a small amount of money. And then they got kicked off and then they're on YouTube, which really just doesn't pay anything at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I calculated what it would take for me and Ron to get our albums for us to actually make money on Spotify, and it's like doable. Like if we got off our butts and promoted it more, we could end up getting some tiny check from Spotify. But YouTube,
Mhm.
it's not possible.
Wow.
I mean, you can make money on your own YouTube channel,
Right.
but if you're Erin Hardison or Dennis Berger with your new YouTube channel, or no, your
Mm.
revived YouTube channel.
Old YouTube
Um,
channel that I've relaunched, yeah.
right. So you can make money on that, but a musician having their work on Spotify on YouTube pays like I think it's like a half or a fifth or a tenth of what Spotify even pays.
Yeah. But again, economies of scale. Like the video that I just uploaded to my YouTube channel, I mean, I worked on it for like, I don't know, probably an hour and a half or something like that. And I might make $50 on it, and that's
Yeah.
fine, whatever. But if you're cranking out a cover tune in 1 minute, how much do you have to make for that to be worth your time? Right?
Yeah, but then I will say though that this band that you like, um,
Mhm.
they still have the copyright on the music, right?
Right. And also it
So
appears that their fans were the ones that got the AI covers taken down from Spotify. There was a big campaign on the subreddit
yeah,
to, hey, let's flood them with reports about this crap. So, you know, there's that too. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is the point that I'm getting at here is they can do this with other bands. And if they do it with 100 bands, and 80 of them get taken down by rabid fans or the bands themselves reporting it,
yeah.
well, what's going to slip through the cracks? Is that going to be
Well,
enough for them to make a decent living? Maybe.
yeah. Well, if they do it with an artist that is doesn't have a rabid fan base, right? Like let's say they did
Hmm.
it with a deceased artist. Let's say they did it with Bobby Darin, right?
Mm, yeah.
And they said, create a bunch of, kind of swingy sounding tunes that sound like, Bobby Darin circa 1960 or whatever.
Hmm.
And you could do a whole bunch of that and put out an album and, I guess call it Bobby Darin. And somebody controls his estate, I'm sure. Somebody owns some of that. Um, so but it would take them a while to notice you and track you down, and it wouldn't be like Bobby Darin has this rabid fan base because I would be one of the youngest of his fan base.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you wouldn't even
so
call it Bobby Darin, probably. You'd probably call it, Dobby Barron or something like
yeah,
that, you
but
know?
I think that yeah. So if you did it with, they were stupid enough to do it with an artist that has a rabid fan base, right? But if
Hmm.
there's so many artists that don't, and
Yeah.
God, you could do it with jazz, or do it with um, Kenny Dorham, right? I mean, eventually people would notice, but I don't know, maybe not. I mean, some jazz critic would probably find it, or somebody would, eventually it would get out. I mean, I'm sure this is already happening,
Yeah.
and just nobody's noticed it yet, and it pops up maybe on Spotify as whatever they want to call it, and what are you going to do? It's just as a that's the thing for me I mean, music still works for me. I still do it every day. And,
Hmm.
played 2 gigs in the last 2 days. Um,
Oh, cool.
but, um, that's what I do. And like, I don't even, honestly, I'm not even thinking about recording at all at this point, except for the bumper music for our podcast. And
Yeah.
because it's kind of like, what's the point? It's as somebody on Your Morning Coffee put it, it's like you're waterboarded with new music at this point. And even before AI came in, there's just so many releases since it's, the barriers to entry are near zero for releasing an album.
Yeah.
Everybody does. And that was true probably. I remember I went to Tom Comrade's house, and was a writer for Jazz Times when I was there, and still, I think, writes for Stereophile. And he was like the COO of Magnolia Hi-Fi, I think, or CFO, something like that. And
wow.
I went to his house years and years ago, and there was this huge stack of CDs. I'm kind of looking there, like, and he just saw me looking at the stack. He's like, "That's just what came in this week."
Oh, wow.
He says every 18-year-old sax player has an album now.
Yeah.
And that was 13, 14, 15 years ago.
Yeah. When you still had to press a CD,
Yeah, which you still do for radio promo and things like that. And for sales, I bought a CD, a week and a half ago?
Yeah.
From the incredible Hawaiian performer I went to see for Hawaiian Christmas. That was, I can't remember his name. It's like Keilani Pea or something like that. Oh my God, this guy was, I tell you about this guy.
No.
Imagine Hawaiian Elvis, Hawaiian Mariah Carey, and Hawaiian Liberace all rolled into one performer.
I cannot. You broke my brain with that, buddy.
With a very heavy amount of super ultra hardcore traditional Hawaiian music thrown in with chanting and like people banging on gourds and stuff. And I think there were probably close to 100 performers on this show because there were all these different hula dancers and stuff, and an amazing show. Anyway, that's what music is to me nowadays.
It sounds like this should have been the soundtrack to Lilo and Stitch, man.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's on this. I mean, he's won 2 or 3 Grammys and stuff. I mean, he's, big deal. But anyway,
gonna have to check him out.
I'll send you a link to something he did. I haven't listened to the CD yet. I haven't fired up my Ciatron R300 CD player yet.
Ooh.
Because I'm too busy listening to a mixtape my neighbor made me.
What?
Because I loaned him my We Are Rewind cassette recorder player, and he wanted to make mixtapes for some reason. And I was like, okay. And he finally, I was like, I'm not using it. Just use it as long as you need to. And he brought it back to me. He's like, I made you a mixtape. I'm like, oh, cool. And I've been listening to that a lot. It's actually really good. So
that is awesome, man. I remember one of my favorite things was always making the labels for mixtapes, man. I really dug that.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you print them out? Or did you write them?
I would write them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Write them and draw them, with pen.
But this it has a Bluetooth transmitter, so I'm listening to it through a Bluetooth speaker.
That is delicious. I love it.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and at one of my gigs, the music in between the sets, she had an old cassette of herself, and she brought this really beat up boombox and moved her vocal mic down in front of the boombox and played it through the PA.
That is amazing.
It was so cool. It was like the David Byrne, the Talking Heads thing. What was that movie?
Yeah.
Stop Making Sense. It was like the opening of that kind of. And it was like, it was fine. I mean, it didn't sound good, but like the knobs were literally falling off this thing, and it was funny though.
That is hilarious. I actually saw an original. So I was at the record shop this weekend because that's what you do. You go to the record shop, and Travis, the proprietor, I was wearing I have a T-shirt that is a recreation of the T-shirt from the original UK cover of Fatboy Slim's "You've Come a Long Way, Baby." It says, "I'm number one, so why try harder?" which eventually became the title of Fatboy Slim's Greatest Hits. But anyway, it was like, oh man, I've got an original cassette of You've Come a Long Way, Baby. He like went over to the shelves and brought it out, and we like unfold it. God, I just remember just loving just unfolding the liner notes of cassettes. And I know, they're smaller, and CD and especially LPs give you more, but just the multi-folds of the cassette covers. I know this is purely like a reflection of my age and the fact that I grew up with cassettes. So there's the whole nostalgia factor, but just unfolding that cover of You've Come a Long Way, Baby, and looking at all the artwork and everything in this cassette form, I just really, really loved it. I love cassette inserts. So I miss them.
Do you have a cassette deck?
I don't.
Oh.
Nothing to play it on.
Bummer.
Yeah. Anyway, buddy, I think this is probably an indication that we've run out of things to talk about with King Gizzard, Lizard, Wizard, AI clones, and Spotify and YouTube being evil. So let's do some credits and get onto our Patreon segment. How about that?
Okay. Well, it's a Butterburger production. I'm getting good at that now.
You are, and I'm mixing and mastering and editing in this one.
And I'm excited to say we have a sort of new piece of music for this.
New old stock.
Yeah, my friend David Aaron, who I was in a band with called Short Memory in New York in the mid-'90s. Really cool band. It was me and him and a drummer. I was playing an instrument called the Chapman stick at the time. And David and I are still really good friends. I still see him probably about once a year or something. And he just sent me an email that said, apparently this was called Funky Lobster. That's all it said. And it was this audio, this clip, this MP3 or whatever. And I'm listening to this. I'm like, what is this? And then I'm like, oh my God, that's us, because it had Chapman stick, which has a pretty unmistakable sound. And I was like, well, there were no other jazz trios where there was a Chapman stick and an avant-garde sax player and a really wild drummer. So that was us. I had no memory of recording it. He had no memory of recording it. We don't know who wrote it. It was we kind of agreed it was probably both of us. And it's a really cool tune called Funky Lobster. Check it out.
Yeah,
mastered by Dennis Berger.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a really good tune too, man. It's like when you played it, I was like, shit, this is actually kind of a banger, man. I really love it.
Live in the studio, no overdubs, Chapman stick, tenor sax, and drums. You'll think there's guitars on it, but it's all me on the Chapman stick, all live, straight through, no overdubs.
The first time I ever saw you play music live, you were playing the Chapman stick.
Oh my God, that was at CES, right?
That was at CES when you played Watermelon Man for Herbie Hancock.
That's right. Unknowingly.
That was unknowingly. Yeah.
We later found out he was in the same building and would have heard it because it was a club, so he heard it for sure.
Yeah.
Probably not the worst version of Watermelon Man he's heard.
Probably not.
I'm sure he's heard a lot of bad ones.
Oh,
so anyway, and some other tune from the archive that you pull out that I'll be delighted to hear what you find, because you find ones I've forgotten.
All right. Well, I guess that'll wrap it up for most people. And this is this going to be our last one for the year, man? So yeah, this will come out on Christmas Eve. So happy holidays, people.
Yeah, happy holidays. And is this our last one for the year?
It is our last one. We'll record one more before the end of the year, but right before my surgery. But it won't come out until the new year. So yeah, this will be our last episode for the year.
Okay, good. Well, it'll be the last time you hear me through a good microphone this year.
Yeah.
God knows what I'll dredge up down in Houston.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, we appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, patrons, stick around. We got one more for you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you liked what you heard and wish there'd been a little bit more of it, we got some good news for you.
Indeed we do. If you check out patreon.com/ Audio Unleashed, all one word, you can get new episodes a little earlier than everybody else.
And sometimes it's like a day or two early. Sometimes it's nearly a week. We never really know until we start editing.
But the big plus is that you get extended cuts of every episode. And usually that's going to mean a whole extra segment that's about maybe a geekier topic or something that's a little more personal to us or something that's just going to really appeal to the hardcore Audio Unleashed listener.
Yeah, what it boils down to is if you're somebody who would support Audio Unleashed on Patreon, we're going to make sure the bonuses to every episode are really aimed straight at your interests.
Yeah, and so if you want to hear these segments, you can subscribe to our Patreon for $3 a month, which is less than I spend every single day on my cup of coffee when I go to Starbucks to write my boring articles.
Yeah. One more time with that URL, that's patreon.com/Audio Unleashed.
Or Audio
Unleashed. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.